Welcome to Spook Central Quick Chills, where legends and nightmares collide. Tonight's story, The Shepherd's Reckoning, takes us to a village blessed with abundance. But at what price? Let's uncover the dark truth hidden in Obrazets.
The village of Obrazets clung to the edge of a sheer cliff overlooking the Black Sea, a cluster of slate-roofed houses with walls whitewashed to near blinding brightness in the sun. The narrow cobblestone streets twisted like veins toward the heart of the village, where the grand Orthodox Church of St. Dimitri stood sentinel, its golden domes gleaming against the vast blue expanse of sky. For as long as anyone could remember, Father Anton had presided over the church. He was a figure of great reverence, a towering man with a deep melodic voice that seemed to carry the weight of Scripture itself. His sermons drew villagers from far and wide, and his hands had blessed countless newborns and sanctified more marriages than anyone could count. But Father Anton was not what he seemed. On the eve of Epiphany, the village gathered in the square to celebrate. Long tables were laid with embroidered linens, their surfaces laden with offerings so abundant they seemed almost unnatural. Piles of glistening black cherries overflowed from silver bowls, their flesh dark as ink, their juice staining the fingers of the children who ate them. Pomegranates, split open, revealed jewel-like seeds, their color so deep it seemed impossible. Honeycakes gleamed in the candlelight, their sweetness almost cloying. Even the bread, golden-crusted and steaming, carried a richness that left a faint, spiced aftertaste. The wine poured freely, thick and dark, its scent heady and almost too fragrant. The villagers laughed and ate, toasting the blessings of another year. "It is Father Anton," they said to one another, their eyes shining with gratitude. "His prayers keep our crops plentiful and our herds strong." But as the feast continued, a shadow passed through the square. No one saw the stranger arrive. He simply was, a figure cloaked in black, standing at the edge of the celebration. Father Anton saw him first. He rose from his seat at the head of the table, his sharp eyes narrowing as they met the strangers. The villagers turned one by one, their laughter faltering. The stranger's face was obscured by a hood, his hands tucked into the folds of his coat. "Welcome, friend," Father Anton said, his voice calm but firm. "Will you join us?" The stranger did not move. "I have not come to feast," he replied, his voice low and cold. "Then why have you come?" Anton asked, taking a step forward. "To remind you of your place, shepherd," the stranger said, his words cutting through the air like a blade. That night a fierce storm swept over Obrazets. The waves crashed violently against the cliffs, and the wind howled through the narrow streets, rattling shutters and tearing at the lanterns. No one slept easily. The animals in the barns kicked and whined, their eyes rolling with panic. In the church, the candles refused to stay lit, and shadows danced along the walls. Father Anton sat alone in the nave, the stranger's words echoing in his mind. He had heard such warnings before, but it had been years, decades even, since the last visitor had come to collect. "Not yet," Anton murmured, his hands gripping the arms of his chair. "Not yet." By morning, the storm had passed, leaving the village shrouded in an unnatural quiet. The villagers found their sheep slaughtered on the cliffs, their blood pooling in the snow. The fruit trees in the orchards bore no frost, but instead hung heavy with overripe plums and apples that oozed syrupy liquid onto the ground below. "It's a curse," one of the elders whispered, crossing herself. "Something unholy has come to Obrazets." But Father Anton dismissed their fears. "The storm was fierce," he said. "The sheep wandered too close to the edge. Nothing more." He led them in prayer that day, his voice as steady and reassuring as ever. Yet the villagers could not shake the unease growing in their hearts. On the night of Theophany, the stranger returned. This time the villagers saw him enter the square, his movements slow and deliberate, his black coat blending with the shadows. Father Anton emerged from the church to meet him. The villagers, emboldened by their numbers, followed at a distance, hiding behind walls and windows to witness the confrontation. The stranger stepped forward, pulling back his hood to reveal a weathered face with eyes like burning coals. "It's been long enough," he said, his voice like the crackle of fire. Father Anton did not flinch. "You have no power here," he replied. The stranger laughed, the sound sharp and mirthless. "Still playing your part, are you? The humble priest, the benevolent shepherd." He leaned closer. "Tell them, Anton. Tell them who you really are." The villagers froze, their breaths caught in their throats. Father Anton turned slowly to face them, his expression unreadable. "Leave us," he said, his voice soft but commanding. The crowd hesitated, but Anton's gaze was too heavy, too certain. Slowly they retreated, though their eyes lingered on the two figures standing in the square. The transformation was slow and deliberate. Father Anton's shadow twisted unnaturally, stretching across the square as if it had a will of its own. Horns sprouted from his head, curling like roots, and his face flickered between human and monstrous forms. The stranger's fiery eyes narrowed. "Do you see him now?" he asked the villagers. Anton's voice thundered. "I am your protector. I have kept you safe. Would you truly cast me out after all I've given you?" "You gave them nothing," the stranger replied. "You took their prayers, their faith, their souls. You fed on them." The square trembled as the two clashed, their shadows writhing and growing, each trying to consume the other. The villagers fled, their screams lost in the roar of the storm that had returned, swirling above the church. When dawn broke, the square was silent. Father Anton and the stranger were gone, their fates unknown. The villagers ventured into the church and found the altar cracked, revealing a dark void beneath. The sigils carved into the stone glowed faintly, a sickly green light that made them feel as though they were being watched. The church was sealed that day, its golden domes gleaming in the morning light like a warning, and though Father Anton's name was never spoken again, the villagers could not forget the abundance of their harvests, the richness of their feasts. They could not forget the way the fruit bled when bitten. Nor could they forget the shadow that sometimes lingered in the square at night, watching, waiting.
Liked the chills? Subscribe to Spook Central Quick Chills, and if you drop by on Friday nights, who knows what could be lurking in the shadows next time?